Hello students, welcome to BioBeam channel. So this is a part 3 video of human reproduction. So now we will discuss about menstrual cycle. So the reproductive cycle in the female primates like monkeys, apes and human beings is called menstrual cycle. And the first menstruation begins after the puberty in the female. It is called as menarche. In human females, menstruation is repeated at an average of 28 to 29 days. And the cycle starting from one menstrual cycle to the next menstrual cycle is called as menstruation or menstrual cycle. One ovum is released during the mid of menstrual cycle. So now let us study in detail about the major events of menstrual cycle. The cycle starts with the menstrual phase when menstrual flow occurs from the first day to the fifth day, and this menstrual flow results into the breaking down of endometrial lining of the uterus and the blood vessels, which comes out as a liquid through vagina. Menstruation only occurs when the released ovum is not fertilized, and if the lack of menstruation can be seen, then it indicates the pregnancy. Sometimes, however, it may be also be caused due to the stress, lack of sleep and the underlying poor health. The menstrual cycle is followed by the next phase called follicular phase. In this phase, the follicle get matured, that is, primary follicles grow and become a fully mature Graafian follicle, and simultaneously the endometrium regenerates and proliferates. These changes in the ovary and the uterus is induced by the changes in the ovarian as well as pituitary hormones. The secretion of gonadotropins called FSH and LH increases gradually during the follicular phase and stimulates the follicular development as well as the secretion of estrogens by the growing follicles. So both LH and FSH attain a peak level in the middle cycle, that is 14th day of the menstruation cycle. So rapid secretion of LH leading to the maximum level during the mid cycle of the LH surge induces the rupture of the Graafian follicle and there is a release of ovum. That is called as ovulation. The ovulation is followed by the next phase called luteal phase, during which the remaining part of the Graafian follicle transforms as a corpus luteum. The corpus luteum secretes a large amount of progesterone, which is very essential for the maintenance of the endometrium. Such an endometrium is very necessary for implantation of the fertilized ovum and the other events of pregnancy. During pregnancy, all the events of the menstruation cycle stops and there is no menstruation. So in the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum degenerates. This causes the disintegration of the endometrium leading to the next menstruation. So like this, new cycles are formed. So in human beings, menstruation cycle ceases around the 50 years of age, and this is called as menopause. Cyclic menstruation is the indication of the normal reproductive phase and extends between the menarche and the menopause. Now we come to fertilization and implantation. Fertilization. After coitus, the semen is released by the penis into the vagina, that is called as insemination. The motile sperms pass through the cervix, swim rapidly and reaches to finally uterus and then to the ampullary ischemic junction, where the ovum is released by the ovary and both the sperm and the ovum are united at the ampullary region where fertilization takes place. So fertilization can only occur if the ovum and the sperm reach simultaneously in the ampullary region. So this is reason why all copulations do not lead to pregnancy. So now we come to the process of fusion of the sperm with an ovum is called as fertilization. During fertilization, a sperm comes in contact with the outermost layer of the ovum called zona pellucida, and then it induces the changes in the membrane, and thus it blocks the other sperms to enter inside the ovum. Thus it ensures that only one sperm fertilizes an ovum and the others not. So the secretion of this acrosome from the sperm head makes the sperm to enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum through the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane of the ovum. This induces the completion of the second meiotic division, where the secondary oocyte produces ovum and the second polar body. So after the sperm enters inside, then only you can see this meiotic 2 is completed in the female gamete formation, that is oogenesis. And the haploid nucleus of the sperm fuses with the haploid nucleus of the ovum to form the diploid zygote, and thus fertilization is completed. So how many chromosomes are present in the zygote now? The male in the sperm carries 23 chromosomes, the female in the ovum carries 23 chromosomes. Now totally there will be 46 chromosomes in the zygote. Now next, the zygote starts undergoing repeatedly the mitotic divisions, which leads to the formation of 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells and 16 cells. This repeated mitotic division of the zygote, when it moves to the isthmus of the oviduct, is called as cleavage, and this cleavage results in the formation of smaller cells called blastomeres. They are the daughter cells of the zygote. The embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called as morula, and the morula continues division and transforms itself into a ball of mass of cells called blastocyst. It moves further to the uterus, and the blastomeres which are present in the blastocyst are arranged in the form of a layer, outer layer called trophoblast and inner layer called inner cell mass. The trophoblast layer then gets attached to the endometrium wall, and the inner cell gets differentiated into the embryo. After attachment to the uterine wall, the cells of the blastocyst starts dividing rapidly and covers the blastocyst. As a result, the blastocyst becomes embedded in the endometrium of the uterus, and this is called as implantation, and this implantation leads to the pregnancy. So now let us study about pregnancy as well as embryonic development. So after implantation, where the blastocyst is attached to the wall of the uterus, the projections, finger-like projections which appear on the trophoblast, they are called as chorionic villi, and these are surrounded by the uterine tissue as well as maternal blood. Chorionic villi and the uterine tissue becomes a structural and functional unit which are interdigitated with each other, and that is called as placenta, which acts as a connection between the embryo and the mother. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients from the mother blood to the embryo, and it also removes the carbon dioxide as well as waste from the embryo to the mother blood. Placenta is connected to the embryo by a rod-like structure called umbilical cord, which helps in the transport of substances to and fro of the embryo. Placenta also acts as a endocrine tissue, as it secretes some of the hormones like human chorionic gonadotropin hormone called HCG, and it also secretes human placental lactogen HPL, estrogen, progestogen, and later on it also secretes even the relaxin at the later part of the pregnancy. Now understand that HCG, HPL and relaxin are produced in the woman during pregnancy. And in addition, you can find other hormones like estrogens, thyroxine, prolactin, cortisol, progestogen also increased in the enormous amount during pregnancy. These are all very essential for supporting the pregnancy as well as metabolic changes which takes place in the mother as well as maintenance of pregnancy. Immediately after implantation, you can see the inner cell mass, that is embryo, differentiate into outer layer called ectoderm and inner layer called endoderm and a middle layer called mesoderm. These three layers helps in giving rise to all the tissues of the body of the embryo. So inner cell mass act as a stem cells which have the potency to give rise to all the tissues and organs. So this has a very application in the field of the medical science. So now let us understand what are the changes which takes place during pregnancy. The human pregnancy lasts for 9 months, and in the first month, the embryo's heart is formed, and this is the first sign of growing fetus in the mother. By the end of second month of pregnancy, the fetus develops limbs and digits. By the end of the 12 weeks, that is the first trimester or 3 months, the major organs are formed. For example, you can take the limbs, the external limbs as well as external genital organs can be seen well developed. During 5th month, there will be the first movement of the fetus as well as the hairs appear on the body. By the end of 24 weeks, that is second trimester, the body is covered with a fine hair, eyelids separate, eyelashes are also formed. By the end of 9 months, pregnancy is completed and the baby is fully developed and is ready for delivery. The average duration of the human pregnancy is of 9 months. After 9 months, it is observed that there is a vigorous contraction in the uterus of the mother where the expulsion or delivery of the baby takes place. The process of delivery of the fetus is called parturition. So parturition is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanisms in the body. The signals of the parturition originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which induce mild uterine contractions, and this is called as fetal ejection reflex. This triggers the release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Oxytocin acts on the uterine muscles and causes stronger uterine contractions, which in turn stimulates further secretion of oxytocin. This stimulatory reflex between the uterine as well as the oxytocin continues and it leads to stronger and stronger contractions of the uterine muscles. This leads to the expulsion of the baby from the uterus through the birth canal, and thus the infant is delivered. Coming to lactation. The mammary glands of the female undergo differentiation during pregnancy and starts producing milk at the end of the pregnancy, and this process is called as lactation, and this helps in the mother to feed the newborn baby. The milk produced during the initial few days of lactation is yellowish in color. It's called as colostrum, which contain several antibodies which are required for the baby's immunity. So breastfeeding during the initial period of the infant growth is recommended by the doctors to bring up a healthy baby in the society. So this is all about the human reproduction. If you have any doubts, please post in the comment box. Please don't forget to like, share.